Hello, it's Philip Carr-Gomm. It's Tea with a Druid. Another week has gone by, and it's lovely to be with you, whether you're live or watching a recording. Tea with the Druid is brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. So, and it's lovely to see everybody arriving from Cairns, Australia, Virginia, Edmonton, Abruzzo, the Netherlands, UK, Poland, Lille in France, Ireland, hooray, Bromley, good old Bromley, and the Netherlands, and everywhere else in between, and Alaska, fantastic, Michigan. That's great. It's lovely, lovely, lovely to see you. So say how you're doing, how you're feeling. It's such a strange time now, and I thought I would talk about time. I want to say hello to everybody because it's just lovely seeing everybody's names and faces. And Adie's from Palmerston North in New Zealand, the other side of the world. Idaho, that's great. Yes. One of these days we'll be able to meet together for real. But at least, you know, the lovely thing is wherever we are in the world, we can be together in this different sort of way. And I was saying, it's a strange time. And I thought this would be an interesting topic for us to explore, is that the time we're in. Druids are very interested in time and the way that our souls and psyches are kind of influenced by time. And the particular time we're in is really interesting. If you think about it, we're around halfway between Mocheline is run over by a bus called COVID-19. Oh dear, I'm so sorry to hear that. Do get better soon. We're halfway between Samhain and Alban Arthan, the winter solstice. And that's a really, really special time. So let's just spend a few moments thinking about this time that we are in. And just to remind you of the time we're in, here we are, and let me show you this. So here we are. We're moving from Samhain around the time of the end of October, beginning of November, moving towards the winter solstice, which this year is on the 21st of December. And from around the 26th of November onwards, we're in this sort of middle period between the two. Now, there's a way in which the journey of our lives is encapsulated every year in the journey of the year. And so there's a way in which we're reborn at the winter solstice, and we experience those first glimmerings of early infancy at Candlemas, at Imbolc, at the lighting of candles, and just the hints of spring. And then we move around to the spring equinox, where our year and in some ways our feelings like a young child, looking forward to the fullness of spring, where we're like the lovers, the young adults, and then this full expression in the summer, around the summer solstice in June, when all the energies of nature are really full on, and then we start to move towards maturity, the time of the harvest around Lunasa, and then starting to get some of the wisdom of old age, perhaps, or later maturity around the equinox, until we come to the time of death, the ending of life, Samhain, which, as many people on the wonderful Thursday evening sessions with Ema's been interviewing people in her fireside chats, also live on YouTube and Facebook at 8 o'clock. And she always asks them what their favorite ceremony is. And so many people say Samhain. And Samhain is a magical ceremony in the Druid tradition and generally. And it's a magical time of year. So what I want to suggest is that the magic of the Samhain ceremony and the Samhain time actually extends right the way through to the winter solstice, this very particular feeling and magic, because the winter solstice symbolizes the moment of either conception or birth. You can look at it either way. None of these things are rigid. We have to be open to. But conception or birth, this is the time when, in the longest night, the sun is reborn and the cycle of the year begins again. And so if Samhain represents death and the winter solstice represents rebirth, the period that we're in now between Samhain and the winter solstice is the interlife period. It's the time, if you believe in reincarnation, or you just want to use reincarnation as a kind of metaphor or model to entertain, it's the time between lives. So what an extraordinary time this is. Those 3 days of Samhain that are encapsulated in our Druid ceremonies as the time of no time actually extend for the 6 weeks or so between Samhain and Olbernatham. So we are in a time of no time now at some level. We have died, we've freed ourselves, one incarnation has finished, and we're going to be reborn in a few weeks' time into a new cycle of the year. Now, if the astrologers are to be believed, there's an added element, because apparently at the winter solstice this year, we are entering a new 20-year cycle. And the last 20-year cycle, which has been from the year 2000 to the year 2020, has been a very strange cycle indeed. And we're moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. Forgive me if my astro speak isn't up to par. I'm not fully conversant with astrology, but my understanding is that either we or possibly Pluto and Saturn are moving into Aquarius, or the world is, I'm not sure. You'll have to check out Sarah Furo's wonderful writing about this. And I give a link in my blog post to Sarah Furo, the Druid Astrology's wonderful website. But something's happening on December 21st, according to astrologers, and we're entering a new cycle. So there's a sort of extra dose of that rebirth energy happening, and an extra dose of that coming to the end of an old cycle. So this is a really special time, I think. I mean, it feels very strong to me. And of course, we can, obviously there's such a lot going on with the pandemic and so on. It's been such an unusual and difficult year. It's not surprising we all feel a bit odd, and it all feels a bit intense. But perhaps in addition to the pandemic, there are these other factors at play. So if this is the case, or if we want to just entertain the possibility that this is the case for the moment, then what is happening in this period between Samhain and the winter solstice? Well, if it's like the process of going between lives, of dying and awaiting to be reborn, then it's a process of shedding masks. It's a time when we shed masks, not, I hasten to add, the vital masks that we need to wear during the pandemic, but the masks that hide the radiance of the soul. There are ideas like the second death, or there are ideas that we shed our different bodies. So we shed our physical body on death, and then a little later we shed our etheric body, our energy body, and then a little later there's another death of our astral body, and then a little later another death of our mental body, and so on, until we're just divine radiance of the soul, this kind of quintessence of being that then enters into incarnation again at the winter solstice. So perhaps this is a time of shedding masks, of allowing ourselves to shed these masks that cover our radiance, these defenses, these masks of toughness, these tough shells that the winter is perhaps made for dissolving. Interestingly enough, this goes completely against the grain of the sort of current of the sort of Christmas shopping bonanza, Christmas frenzy that we're urged to enter into. My sense is that this is a time when the psyche really needs to be quiet and to withdraw from the stresses of the outside world, and to allow the sheddings to occur. Let me stop sharing the screen now. Click there. So my sense is this is a time now, as we move towards the winter solstice around 21 December, that we really allow these masks to be shed. Well, how do you do that? You do it with meditation, with taking care of yourself, with not striving too hard to go out into the world and I was going to say put up a front, but in a way, when we go out into the world, we put up a front in order to achieve things. You could say that perhaps. It's a time to come into ourselves and to connect with the source. What are we doing as well in this period between death and reincarnation? We are getting closer to source. Mask after mask is shed until we are just at one with the source, and then we come back into incarnation. So I've decided that I'm going to follow the 12 days before the winter solstice. So starting on December the 9th, I'm going to follow the 12 lying down, very healing meditations that are in the Garden of Flowing in Perpetual Happiness retreat that I started on at the beginning of lockdown back in March or April. And these are 12 audio recordings that you can access which are yoga nidras, sometimes druid nidras, because they have lots of druid sort of ideas in them. But they basically are meditations that really allow you to surrender because you do them lying down, because a voice guides you so you can completely let go. And there are certain techniques used in this kind of meditation that really allow for connecting to deep within. So I thought it would be rather good to follow this sequence of doing, there are 12 meditations, and I'm going to try to do one a day for 12 days leading up to this big change at the winter solstice. So if you'd like to join me in that, please feel free. While I'm talking, I will put up the link. I can chew gum and walk at the same time. Even though Stephanie says I can't, I will, while I'm talking, I will put up a link to the retreat so that you can access it yourself. And there it is. And the link is also in the blog post that goes with this. So I hope that's been helpful. Do say how you feel, and let's have a meditation. And let's just take a few moments to just go within. And I'm feeling now like I really want to hear from you. I'm aware that I've talked away for 10 minutes or so, and I would love to hear your feedback, but let's do that after the meditation. So if you want to do this, just sense yourself seated here in front of the computer screen or the tablet or the phone, and just being fully present in this way. You can also allow your awareness to encompass or allow a sense of being in a sacred place or coming towards a sacred place. Perhaps you're walking through the trees and coming into a clearing in the forest, a sacred grove of the Druids. And as you come in, you notice that there's a beautiful pool of water in the center of the grove. And you sit down beside the pool, and first you connect to the earth beneath you. And you sense the rich earth. You smell the earth. And you put your palms on the earth and you feel the earth and your love of the earth. And you feel its stabilizing, healing influence. And you feel your body tuning in to the rhythm of the earth, which is so slow and profound. And you breathe in the aroma of the trees. You smell the trees around you. And you look around and you see the trunks of the trees and you sense them rooted firmly in the earth. You sense their protection and their power. You sense them as living beings, brothers and sisters, elders even, standing around us, strong and beautiful, and rising up into the air. And you look up into the sky and you notice whether it is night or day, dusk or dawn. And you breathe in the energy of the sky. And the energy, the invigorating energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And allow yourself to become aware of the pool now. And if it's daylight, imagine that dusk is beginning and the night stars are appearing in the sky. Or perhaps it's already the night for you. And you see the stars glittering in the sky, but reflected in the pool. And so you see darkness in the water and light in the water, sparkles of light reflected in the water. Perhaps the moon too. And if it feels right for you, just place your hands in the water and cup some of this sparkling water and lift it to your lips to drink from it. And dip your hands into the water again. And as you lift your hands up, you see the starlight sparkling in the water, and you bathe your brow in this starlit water. And the energy from these stars and the energy from this water blesses you, bringing you healing and inspiration. And you pick up a third amount of water. And this time you feel moved to carry it around your circle, sprinkling the water on the ground, saying a prayer that the earth might be blessed, that all beings might be blessed, as these drops of starlit water fall to the ground as you walk around the circle. And then when you get back to your position, you allow whatever water is left in your cupped hands to drain into the earth, and you watch it draining away through the leaves and the soil in front of you. And you place your hands upon the earth. We ask for a blessing on the earth, a blessing on the land, and a blessing on our lives. And knowing that we can return to this sacred grove, this clearing in the forest, whenever we wish in our meditations. you begin to allow the awareness of this enchanted grove to fade. As you become aware of being seated in front of your computer or your screen, fully present, here and now. And when you feel ready, you stretch your fingers and toes and open your eyes. There's some lovely quotes coming up, and by clicking them, you can read them too. So, oh yes, C.S. Lewis. Jill Cooper's mentioned that. Then the C.S. Lewis stories, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Prince Caspian, and all those wonderful stories. One of the ways of traveling between worlds is through a pool of water. And of course, the ancient Celts believed that it was in wells and pools that we could connect with other worlds, with the underworld. I love the way, being with everybody all over the world, it feels so dark here out of the wind. It's so dark, and every day now in Sussex, where I am, by about, I don't know, today it was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. As soon as you pass sort of noon, start getting to 1, 2 in the afternoon, you can feel the evening closing in, and then around 3:34 it's starting to get darker and darker. And of course, in New Zealand, you're moving into completely the opposite period of time, and New Zealand is so fresh and bright. And Martin has just come from watching the full moon reflected in the river. Yes. Yes, because there was a lunar eclipse. I think it was yesterday. We had the most wonderful Saturday evening before the eclipse, just as it was about to become full. I think it was full Sunday, and but the day before it was full, and we sat in the garden. It was so clear, with glasses of whiskey, bundled up warm, looking up at the full moon, almost full moon, through the trees. It was just great. Yes. So, yes, Samantha, they do transcend time, don't they? I have to exert the most incredible willpower to finish these sessions. I can tell you, if I gave rein to my natural tendency, we'd be here for hours. But I just know that part of Tea with a Druid is about it being a specific, around 20-25 minutes. That's what it needs to be. And so there we go. So look, it's been lovely to see you. Gates and doors, yes. So look, have a wonderful week, and how exciting it is that I have a particular approach to astrology, which is when I read astrological material, I don't know whether it's true or not, but when it feels good and it offers me some hope and inspiration, I cling to it and I think, hooray. And when it's not so good, I've put it to one side or try to interpret it in a way that will galvanize me. So I'm just really pleased to hear that on December the 21st, we're going to enter a new cycle, and that feels good, because these last 20 years have indeed been very difficult. And so many blessings. Have a lovely evening or day if you're in New Zealand, and have a wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay, lots of love. And I also look forward to reading your comments. I'm going to make a cup of tea and I'm going to come back and read them all. Okay, bye.